What's up, Indiana? Welcome, Indy Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Man, the clown show continues with our Indianapolis Colts. We'll dive into that, talk a lot of hoops. IU football keeps rolling. We'll get into that. College hoops are back, baby. We are so back. We'll dive into all of it. Thanks for joining. Saddle up. Indy Sports Nation. Let's go. Welcome in. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. Much appreciated. Big Mike here, coming to you live as I do every Friday afternoon, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time. Happy Blue Friday to you. Man, it is another gorgeous day here in Central Indiana. Beautiful fall Friday. High school playoffs are going. Just got to take it all in, man, because, in no time it'll be dreary, gray, cold, icy, all that good stuff. So, but anyway, we're not here to talk weather. We're talking sports. So, got a lot to cover. As I teased a little bit in the intro, Colts, Pacers, we're going to get into all that. Going to talk a lot of IU. Football is rolling. They're still rolling. And as I mentioned, college hoops are back. So we got a lot to talk about when it comes to hoops here in the state. Everybody's in action this week, and all the schools did pretty well until last night. So we'll get into that. So as I mentioned, we'll preview some IU, some Hoosiers hoops. Obviously, do some quick recaps on Notre Dame and Purdue and whatnot too. So with that being said, we're going to hit some college hoops pretty quick. But before that, we're going to give some love to our great sponsors, Planet Jerky and Seal the Deal Wax Seals. So please stick around. Appreciate you taking the time to join me today. Big Mike here, Indy Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be right back.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps. for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back. Thank you once again. Big Mike here. Indy Sports Nation on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you're listening or watching on the all of our platforms or on YouTube, feel free to hit me on the comments. Keep it sports related, keep them PG. It's all I ask. Also, give me, if you're so kind, hit me up on the old X platform at Indy Sports _IESR, or you can follow me at my personal account at The Chill Mike. So as I mentioned, we got some college hoops to talk about because we are back. So before we get in that real quick, I just want to take a quick second to touch on the Indiana Fever press conference. I had mentioned on last week's show that Stephanie White had been she is now the new coach of the Indiana Fever, coming over from the Connecticut Sun. But Stephanie White, as I mentioned last week, and some of you who already know, is an absolute basketball legend here in the state of Indiana. So to see her back here is a great thing. Just a quick thing on the presser. It was very brief. I mean, it was your typical presser, right? You know, the new coach comes in and we're going to do this, we're going to do this, hang some banners, great stuff. But the one thing that came out of it, I just wanted to touch on it, is she made a comparison with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, essentially saying they're going to be a greater version of Stockton and Malone. And that got me going. I got my ears perked up a bit. And of course, after the press was over, they talked to Kate, press gets to Caitlin and Aaliyah. And they're excited, obviously, because Stephanie White drew up a pretty good defensive game plan against them in the playoffs. So they're looking to learn from that. And I love their comments. They're like, hey, we can learn from this and improve our game to get us better to get to that ultimate goal. So I thought it was worth mentioning because a lot to be excited about when it comes to the Fever. So, but with that said, we're going to go to college hoops recap. So everybody, I say everybody, I'm going to limit it to the big schools here in Indiana, right? So we're talking IU, Purdue, Notre Dame, and Butler. And as we know, look, it's November, so it's not panic mode for anybody, right? I mean, you saw some upsets that happened in SEC, I believe, but this is still a time. It's not, granted, it's regular season play now, so we're not necessarily, we're not in exhibition anymore, but still coaches are still trying to figure this out, kind of seeing the X's and O's a little bit, what rotations are going to work at what times of the game, all that, which makes total sense. So I'm going to hit IU last because I'm going to kind of recap and then go to a little bit of a hoops preview for them as I've done the past few weeks. So I will start with Purdue. Purdue and Butler both played Monday night. Purdue's back in action tonight, actually. And so is Butler, for that matter. Purdue was, it's a nice win. Sure, it's a 19-point win at home against, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. I had to give A&M CC a little credit just for the way they took care of the ball and the defense they played. Purdue was sloppy with the basketball. In my eyes, they had too many turnovers. The game at the rim it was sporadic. It finally got going a little bit later. But hey, again, you're not going to be playing your best ball in November. And you don't really want to be. And that's been an issue, I think, for Purdue in the past. They come out guns a-blazing in November, December, and January. They're just rocking and rolling. Obviously, last year was an exception. But 2 years prior, they were kind of the same way. So by the time we got to February and March, when it matters, they have kind of plateaued. You don't really want to see that. So, but an interesting stat from the game I wanted to share. I put it up on the old, Twitter, and I told Purdue fans they can't answer, and they didn't because they know the stat. I don't think anyone else did. But Braden Smith is on just my word. I think he very well could be a Big Ten Player of the Year this year. I really believe that. We will see how it goes, but he had 15 assists on Monday night, and he's a junior. There's only one player in Big Ten history to have more assists at this point in their career. So I posed that out. No one answered. Probably a bunch of IU fans who didn't care, but the one guy's Magic Johnson. Last I checked, he was pretty good. He's a pretty good player, yeah. Now look, before you not go crazy here, I'm not suggesting that Braden Smith's going to go to the NBA and become Magic Johnson. I'm not. That's not where I'm going with that. Don't even go there. But I think that's just a testament to Braden Smith and how well he's been playing. So hopefully they can take care of the ball a little bit better going forward. We'll see how that goes. The women also won their game this week against Purdue Fort Wayne. It was not overly impressive. They got some work to do, and they'll get there. Like I said before, this is going to be a young team, and just looking to get better each year. It's kind of still more of a rebuild mode for them. Notre Dame both were in action. The women dominated. As I mentioned, their point guard Miles is just an All-American. She is all that. Triple-double for her. Notre Dame rolls. The men, Shrewsbury had a nice 18-point performance. Looked really good. I thought it looked pretty good. They're still sloppy with their turnovers still. That was a problem for them last year. We will see if they can clean that up a bit. I think they can. I still, as I mentioned with their preview, I don't see it's going to really boost them up too much. They're still working for next year. Butler, women look pretty good. Shooting wasn't great, though. That they were just, it was Chicago State, I believe that they played, and that was it's just a mismatch. It didn't matter. It really did not matter. The Butler men, Telfort, it's his team, and I mentioned that in their preview as well. He had a great night. He didn't get a ton of help, and they're struggling with shooters. That was kind of a concern going into the year. There's still a lot of what ifs there with Butler, but they got to figure out their, the shooting. Again, it's November, so we'll see here. But Taryn, my boy Taryn, checking in there, my volleyball stud. Appreciate you listening in, man. Really appreciate that. So with all that, let's do. I'm going to kind of segue. I'm going to review IU real quick. I've had we've all, I should start with the bad game because for those of you who may or may not have watched, the IU women, boy, did they lay an egg last night. Man, oh man, oh man, it was not good. But I will try to I'll start with they played Brown earlier in the week, and they were a little sloppy. But man, they came off Caroline Stripling is a transfer from Tennessee, came in off the bench at 6 of 8 for 3. I just gave them a spark. Yeah, they're a little sloppy in other parts of the game, but again, first game, sometimes that stuff happens. I don't get too wrapped into it. This team has started in the rankings 24, 25, depending on which poll you look at. And the big loss for them this past year was Mackenzie Holmes, who went to the WNBA. And boy, last night you could tell. They're trying to move to more of a perimeter type motion offense. Sydney Parrish to me is the anchor to this team going forward. Sydney Parrish is a local, excuse me, I say Indianapolis, but Hamilton Southeastern just right up the road. So local product with the Oregon transferred back from there, transferred to home, which is fantastic. Hoosier fans, locals love that, right? And she stepped it up in game 1, and they got some great bench play. And so for me, kind of seeing that, I'm looking at this team going, they're on their best stretch in the history of their program. They've won a Big Ten championship, a couple Sweet 16s, and Elite 8 appearance here under Coach Morin. And so I'm going, all right, they're going to have to adjust. No Mackenzie Holmes this year. And so I'm kind of thinking, all right, they're 24, 25. I think if they're stay there, that probably gives them a 4 or 5 seed in the tournament. And who's to say they can or won't still do that? But holy moly, last night, playing Harvard, you would think, again, these early season games, right? They're not necessarily, you can lose them. We see teams do it, obviously. But these are times you're like, especially when you're a program like IU, you're going to win. No, they lose in overtime. It was 72-68. IU had no bench presence whatsoever. Sydney had 7 points. I think was like 1 of 7 or 8 from the field. 27 turnovers. 27 turnovers. One of them, this is what blew my mind. This believes is the early part of overtime. Sydney Parrish inbounds the ball, has no defender, and Harvard has a lapse on defense. I can't remember who it was from IU that gets open. Sydney gets to the ball, and she doesn't catch it. It goes out of bounds. That was just the type of sloppiness that was there last night, and that can't happen. You're not going to be anybody turning the ball over 27 times. That's just insane. So I'm a little hesitant now. I'm seeing that. I'm thinking initially this team could still be one of those teams that's around the top 25. I'm not so sure. After looking at that, again, I know it's early, and they can definitely turn this around, and I hope they do. But ugly performance from them, and unfortunately, hopefully, they get that turned around pretty quick. So we'll segue to the men, and a nice win for them this week. There were good moments, and there were some not so great moments, I should say. But again, as I keep saying, it's November, so this is where you work out those kinks, and hopefully by December, January, you kind of get rolling, right? Well, Ibaka was on fire, 31 points for him, and Renew was okay. Other than that, they didn't have a ton of contribution. And they're going to need more than that. Now, they got the transfer of Ballo from Arizona for down the post. But the issue I saw, and hopefully they're able to correct this, but a little bit of an issue I saw, he didn't look very comfortable with his back to the basket. Now, he liked to get up, a little pick and roll action up on the high screen, that type of thing where he could turn and get, face to the basket. That's great. Don't get me wrong, but there's going to be some times where they're going to force you to post up and back to the basket. You're going to have to make some stuff happen. Again, early. There was some nice dynamics with him and Trey Galloway. But the issue I've seen with them, again, I know it's early, I keep saying it, is their perimeter shooting, especially, three-point shooting. Now, they are 17, 18 in the polls, again, depending what poll you look at. The talent is there. I mean, it better be, as much as Mike Woodson, hit the transfer portal this year. I mean, their NIL budget, I think, is about equal to the salary cap of the Indianapolis Colts, or the payroll of the Indianapolis Colts, rather. But anyway, but this is kind of a thing for Woodson. To me, if they underachieve again this year, I think he's probably gone. Again, for those of you who listen, follow, whatnot, I don't want anybody to lose their job, obviously, but just the nature of the business. But again, he's got the talent, and I really think they got to shoot better from the perimeter, especially from three, in order for them to have a run at the Big Ten championship. They did look good over from Illinois. He's a decent three-point shooter. Hopefully that will help them. But last year as a team, they shot 32% from deep, and they were last in overall attempts. It was some of those shots they're putting up too was just painful to watch. It was just a bunch of disorganization to me a lot last year. Just a lot of flailing, just whatnot. Now I do see that they want to play much more of an up-tempo game this year, which could be beneficial. The talent's there. It is absolutely there. But can they get it put together? And I think it's going to take them a little bit. I think they can get it. I think they can do it. And if they were to come home this year with the Big Ten championship or Big 18, whatever you want to call it, I would not be surprised. I truly would not be surprised. I've seen several analysts are picking them to win the Big Ten this year. They could. I mean, I know Purdue's going to contend. At least I think Purdue's going to contend, even though with no Edey. But Purdue will be hanging around. I think Illinois is not going to go away. People are kind of soft on Michigan State. I'm not so sure about that either. But IU, it's there. I mean, the talent's there. It's just a matter if they can put it together. So we'll obviously going forward, we're going to just be reviewing more and more games. When it comes to all these schools, right? We kind of did a little quick preview on every one now. But while we're on the topic of IU, and then we'll hit another break on the other side here. IU football. What a performance last weekend, right? I know some are trying to call it a trap. I said last week, I don't think that's it. Michigan State turns the ball over too much. They're not a great team, so on and so forth. That was the first time Indiana has trailed all season. And they needed some adversity in my eyes. They really, really did. Because they haven't seen that all year. They've dominated. They're winning by 2 scores every game, or more than. So to see them get down and come back from that relatively quickly, I personally wasn't worried about it. When I saw they were down 10-0, I'm like, you know what? This is probably good for them. And just right away, it was 10-7, then 14-10, and 47 straight, unanswered. So just an overall dominant performance. And as you saw, the college football playoff rankings came out, and they had come out number 9, and people were losing their mind. Like, oh, this is ridiculous. They're not. This team is better than that. Like, are you what? Why are we complaining here? It's Indiana football, who's one of the losingest Division I football programs around. And right now, the season ends today. It doesn't, obviously, but they're in a college football playoff. What are you talking about? Like, you got to take the wins and enjoy these wins. Be crying about that. The strength of schedule has not been good. You know this. But they're beating who they're supposed to beat, and they're beating them handily. So they're kind of passing the eye test at this point. They are. Now, they have Michigan coming in this week, and people are nervous about it. And look, Michigan's not Michigan this year. They're just not. Their passing game is not great. If they can run the ball, they can create a few things on some play action here and there. But for the most part, you stop their run, you're going to stop Michigan. We saw what Oregon did to them last week on their home field. Now, granted, I know Oregon's Oregon. I get it, but I use a solid football team too. So obviously they got to take care of business. IU goes to a bye week next week, so I don't see this as a trap at all. Granted, play the game. Anything can happen. We know this. College football gets wacky. Get really wacky. They're a 2-touchdown favorite. I think that's right. I think IU handles business, and they're going to set up for a showdown after their bye week at Ohio State. I said this last week, and I've said to everybody I've talked to about it. As long IU keeps that game competitive, when I mean, look, we all have different definitions of competitive, right? When I'm saying competitive, I'm going, look, they can lose by 14 points. That's competitive. Mike, how's that competitive? Well, they're down 7. Say they're driving and there's a turnover and Ohio State scores and it's late in the fourth. That's a competitive game. You know, what I'm saying non-competitive is like a 49-3 or something like that. So assuming, and I don't see that happening. So they keep that game competitive. You know, even if they come out with a loss, you know, your strength of schedule improves. They're not going to penalize you for losing to Ohio State on the road. You come home, you play Purdue. We all know what Purdue is. You're 11-1. You're in. Then anything can happen. It's just one game after that. He's got to beat a team once. So great. It's still a great story. I mean, at 9-0, it's a record. I think they're going to be 10-0 this week. So they're just going to add to that record. It's been fun here with Indiana. Going to give IU football record. I neglected to mention that Purdue's basketball is playing for a record, assuming they win against Northern Kentucky. That'll be 28 straight non-conference wins at home, which would be a school record. So a lot of record setting going on here in Indiana, and we love it. So on that note, we will take our next round of breaks, but I want to get on the other side, get in a little bit of Irish, a little bit of Purdue, and then finish strong with Pacers and Colts. So thank you once again for joining everybody. Big Mike here, Indy Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back. Big Mike here, Indy Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. All right, let's move into a few of the other schools in the area here. Talk a little, here we go, the old, we'll start with the Boilers. Boy. My banner seems to have disappeared here. It's just kind of strange, but see if we can get that fixed here real fast. Here we go. Tell me how that works. And they're completely gone, but that's all right. So Purdue, another loss this weekend to Northwestern. Overtime loss, 26-20. Just when you thought they had a chance, that was their one chance to win a game. The rest of the way, they still have Penn State, Ohio State, and Indiana. And actually, it's Ohio State this weekend. Ohio State's getting 38 points. I'm telling you, that's not enough. They're going to need a little more than that. I don't. It's just, again, I don't know where to go with this. I touched on this last week that it sounds like he's going to be retained just because of the lack of NIL and the fact that the administration knows this, and he's got a tough road to climb there. So I don't. I don't. It's not even. It's really not even up for discussion, to be honest with you. It's just. I would just tell people don't watch. I shouldn't say that. I mean, fans are going to watch and they're going to support their team as they should. My buddy Charlie just chimed in here. He's like, it's an absolute mess at Purdue, and he's absolutely right. I got to keep giving the fans credit, though. They are still showing up, even though this has been an abysmal season, an absolute abysmal season. But hey, I credit the Purdue fan base for trying to stick through it. It's been awful. It's been a tough schedule, but just been brutal. Again, they've got Ohio State this weekend. It's a mismatch on every position in the field. It just is. 30, again, as I mentioned, 38-point spread. The only reason that Purdue covers is if Ohio State starts third and fourth stringers. And even then, I don't know they cover. So, as I tell Purdue fans, hey, hoops have started. Football's almost over. And you still got the women's volleyball team, so it's a nice little segue there. Two nice wins over the weekend, this past weekend, I should say. Rutgers, Maryland. After that, really tough home loss to Wisconsin, where they just, as I mentioned last week, they just looked kind of gassed. But picked up a couple nice wins, and due to an upset, they have moved up to 9th in the rankings. And they've got IU tonight, which should be another win. And the wins over the weekend were 3-0 both nights, so it feels like maybe that Wisconsin match kind of woke them up a bit. Not that it really needed to be woken up. I mean, they've had a great season, and as I keep mentioning, they're only losing the top 10 teams. Those are all their losses. So it's look, they're hanging around. They're still a threat. I don't care what anybody says. So we'll keep you updated on them, and I encourage the attendance there has been fantastic. So again, well done, Purdue. Well done, Purdue. Real quick, switch over to the Irish real quick. They were off last week. Florida State in town this week, under the lights, South Bend, a 7:30 kick, I believe. I believe it's an NBC. Yeah, of course, it's an NBC/Peacock deal. Notre Dame's got a 26.5 at home. I like the way Notre Dame's playing. I mentioned this last week. Riley Leonard is improving. We saw it last Navy game. Navy gave him 6 turnovers. I mean, it wasn't anything that Notre Dame forced, but Notre Dame took advantage of it when they had to, and that's what good teams will do. So they are playing on a much better clip. Even though they've lost a couple studs on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, their best corner and their best pass rusher is gone. It hasn't seemed to have affected them just yet. Now, Mike, it's an easy schedule. Yeah, I get it, but that Texas A&M win looks pretty good, even though they dropped one. But that still looks like a really good win, even though it's early in the season. The Florida State is just, who would have thought? Just one win. It's just crazy to me, and they're not getting number 2 this weekend. I don't think. I mean, Notre Dame would really have to have a colossal choke job in order for that to happen. I fully expect Notre Dame to come out and probably cover or close to it. So, and then that'll set them up with Army. I'm sorry, following week, which Army's top 25. Army looks pretty good, but we'll break that down more next week. It's every game's a playoff game for Notre Dame right now. It just is. Any loss, they're done. So, hey, we Indy folks here, man, we don't want to see them lose. We would love the idea of 2 Indiana college football teams in the college football playoff. I think Notre Dame's sitting at 10 right now, I believe it is. They can't lose. So really, outside of Army, I think the only team is really probably USC. So we'll see how that plays along. We are going to go ahead and take one last quick break here, and then we're going to finish up with Colts, or I should say Pacers. Want to recap their week, and then obviously wrap up with the chaos that is the Indianapolis Colts. So let's do that real fast. Again, appreciate you listening in. Thank you for the comments. Indy Sports Nation right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Quick break. Be right back.
The light is red, the kids are in bed, which means it is time for Mile High Musings with me, Aaron Yowell, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
All right, welcome back. Thank you once again for spending your time with your boy Big Mike here. So let's get into the Pacers. 2-1 since we hung out last Friday. Friday at the Pelicans, that was a game I thought they should have had a lead and just couldn't close it. No shade on the Pelicans or anything of that nature. I did see some improvement. You know what? I've mentioned this last week. This whole team is kind of stops and goes with Tyrese Halliburton. It just does. And how he orchestrates, the offense, especially. We don't need 20-point and 2-assist games from him. That typically is not going to bode well for the Pacers. I saw improvements against the Pelicans. They just could not close that out. Fast forward to earlier this week, on Monday, because obviously, as you know, there was no games on Tuesday due to the election. So we had these little crazy slate of games starting, 10, 15 minutes apart from each other. And whoever came up with the schedule was like, oh, hey, let's put the Pacers at the Mavs at 9:45 Eastern time. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, still, heck, it's basically 10 o'clock here and 9 o'clock in Dallas. Like, what are we doing? But whatever, is what it is. Pacers caught Dallas on a back-to-back. I don't feel sorry for that. That's just part of the NBA. It is what it is. Tyrese was much better. I had 25 and 12 that night, and that's much better orchestration done by Tyrese. Because as we know, this defense is just not. This is not a great defense. They do not do well defensively. Now, take a step back, as we mentioned, James Wiseman with the Achilles tendon tear, the partial tear. They said they've not officially ruled him out for the year, but I think we all know it's probably the case. And Isaiah Jackson was lost in that Pelicans game, and for a torn Achilles, he is officially done for the year. So those are two bigs on the Pacers bench that are now gone, and that is not great. For a team that took pride in, I still say was one of the best benches, if not the best bench. Statistically, they were the best bench in the league. So losing two of your bigs, not good. So it'll put some pressure on Miles. But I've mentioned that now because now I can step to the game that from Wednesday night. If for those of you who follow me, again, Indy Sports _IESR or at the Chill Mike, you would have seen that I was at the game. Post a nice little picture of beautiful Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And that was, again, another game. My first game of the year, so I was excited to get back there and catch the Pacers in person. And another tough night from Tyrese. 17-5 night. And again, like I just mentioned, usually you see that on paper, you're like, oh dear Lord. However, and maybe a breakout game for him. We will see. But Darius Walker, finally, we've been clamoring for this as fans for a while now. So Darius came out of University of Houston. And we all know what University of Houston's been these past few years. I mean, they're just those teams it's just dogs, man. They just get after you. And take pride in their defense and just all of it. And he's been getting limited minutes. He's been playing more. And before he before this year, he was a lot of G League stuff, and he would just destroy it there. They'd bring him back up and see a few minutes, and that'd be about it. And, there's reasons for that. I won't get into it now, but he got an opportunity. He took advantage of it. 17-5. He was 7 of 7 from the field. Had a couple steals. Need that defensively because, again, as I mentioned, this Pacers team is not known for their defense. But he's 7 of 7. Just was all over the place, and come along with T.J. McConnell, who is probably the most popular player outside of Tyrese Halliburton in this town. Also 7 of 7 off the bench. So that was huge. And as we're all still worrying here in Indiana, like what's the deal here? What's going on? I still think Tyrese will figure it out. But what was so great about that win, and I know Orlando had some guys out too, but when you're off and you get other guys stepping up. So I took that as a positive. It's like, hey guys, look, he was off again, but TJ, Jared stepped up. Obviously, Benedict Mathurin, who I said before could be the sixth man of the year, although that may not happen now because he's starting, and he's been just an absolute X factor. I mean, he's getting in the boards. He's averaging almost 9 boards a game. He's getting points. He's getting buckets. It's he stays healthy, man. It's a game changer for the Pacers team. And I said it from the beginning. Absolutely said it from the beginning. So that puts it back to 4-4 on the season. I had mentioned before that I think with this tough schedule that they had to start with, I was 6-4, 7-3. I'd be good. Obviously, 7's not going to be an option at this point, but I think 6 we'll see. I mean, they got Charlotte tonight. You think that's one they can get, but you never know. And then the Knicks come in on Sunday. So Sundays will be a fun day here in Indy. You got the Colts game at 1 o'clock and the Pacers Knicks at 5. I do not anticipate a blowout like we saw last time at the Garden. I think the Pacers will be up and ready to play, and I do expect everybody to have a fantastic game. I expect it to be a very, very tight game, and Gainbridge will be rocking, no doubt about it. So it'll be a lot of fun here. So we'll break those games down a little more detail next week. But back to 4-4. And I loved, real quick before we move to the Colts, I did love the interaction after the game with Jarris Walker. He was doing his interview, and Pascal Siakam comes up and just gives him all sorts of love. And Pascal's been the constant at the start of the season. He's been great. He's been absolutely great in my mind. TJ's coming up at the interview. You can just tell the chemistry's there. So as a fan, obviously, you'd love to see that, right? So with that said, let's just get into the chaos that is the Indianapolis Colts. Man, oh man, oh man. Went on a little rant about these guys last week, and I want to save the rant this week, although I'm going to take some jabs, but we'll see how Sunday goes against Buffalo. May have to in our rant number 2. We'll see. So as you all saw, Sunday Night Football, they got flexed in, which was, hey, as a fan, that's cool. 21-13 loss to the Vikings. I personally, I actually kind of expected worse. I was doing cartwheels in that first half, going up 7-0, and like this Colts defense did not let the Vikings score. What? But then again, the Colts couldn't do anything offensively. And then when they did, they would turn the ball over. So great drive in the first half and the missed handoff, and they were driving. I mean, there was going to be points there. Well, you'd think. Who knows with our kicker, but even if they don't get a touchdown there. Then you get the defensive touchdown, and maybe they got away with one there with the Grover Stewart hit to the helmet. To me, that was football. It wasn't like he just clubbed him. It just, I don't know, just looked to me like a football play, but we all know how that goes, especially with the quarterback. I'm kind of surprised they didn't call it. Kenny Moore gets up to scoop and score. That's the only time the Colts get into the end zone. So Joe Flacco gives the Colts that's just one of those things, right? I mean, and I've said it here too, and, Shane Steichen, the coach of the Colts, says it. Joe Flacco gives us the best chance to win. Well, I'm just saying not with this team. This is not a Super Bowl team. This is not a deep playoff run team. So I don't know why you're doing that, but that's neither here nor there. Actually, it is here nor there. We'll get more into it in a sec. But man, they're towards the end. He throws this interception. He has Sermon wide open for a check down for an easy first down to keep the drive going. But now he decides to throw it, and there's like 2 or 3 Viking players right there for a pick. Like, how does a 39-year-old vet do that? And you're railing on 22-year-old Anthony Richardson for missing the same thing. Meanwhile, you're putting him in terrible play calling positions. Now, again, AR's not, he gets blamed too. But you've seen it now. We talked about it last week where, the Pat McAfee's of the world and all your other ESPN gurus were, I should say all of them. That's not fair. Flacco, you should go Flacco. That's the best chance to win. Go with Flacco. And then, man, you watch them walk those words back this past Monday. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, Richardson needs reps. He needs reps. You can't have it both ways. And as I keep saying, it's not like the Colts woke up the Monday morning and go, oh, well, Joe Flacco gives us a chance to win. And now all the things are leaking out here, right? Everything's leaking out here. That it's all about his preparation or Richardson's lack of. If you hear all the comments, it's professionalism, it's this, it's that. It's all kind of comes back to that, professionalism. So the things that are leaking out here is he's not maybe preparing as much as they would like him to prepare. That's kind of the narrative that's coming out here. And here's my thing. He's such a young dude. He's barely played quarterback in college, 12, 13 games, and you've given him the keys to the franchise. To me, there's development. I got some comments coming in. We'll share these real quick. Our Buffalo folks checking in. Looking forward to a good game on Sunday. Go Bills. Well, I don't agree with Go Bills, but I'll agree with you that Josh Allen is amazing. I'll give you that. Ralph checks in. Hoping the all clowns in that 4-letter network. Yeah. Oh man, look, I appreciate y'all listening. Thank you so much. But anyway, you're sitting here with this again. Now you're going back to the narrative, reps, and whatever. Get back to the professionalism and look. I think the only way we see AR back on the field again is if Flacco just chokes. I mean, they got these next 3 games here. Bills in town, at the Jets, and then home to the Lions. Okay, let's just be real. If they're not winning that Lions game, you can forget that. Lions look like they could win a Super Bowl right now. Jets, who knows? I mean, to me, they're both playing kind of bad, so who the heck knows? But we talk about the Bills, and obviously I think they got 4 or 5 points. That's probably good. I know Buffalo's a little banged up. Offensive side of the ball, their defense doesn't really scare anybody. I don't think so. You can get some points on them, but can you get enough points on them? Because Josh Allen is just Josh Allen, and right now he very well could be the league MVP at this point. We'll dive that more in a sec. I kind of want to get back on the AR thing here. I mentioned it last week. It just seems like I don't know what's going on. You may have heard Jeff Saturday on ESPN saying that people are just trying to protect themselves and fix narrative, keep jobs, this, that, yada, yada, yada. Look, we all know how the Colts are. We're going to find this stuff out years down the road of what really happened. If it stays like this, it's going to be the most awkward offseason ever. And again, I don't know if we'll see Anthony Richardson back on the field. I really don't. To me, if we don't, that's just a crime in my eyes. I mean, it's why you drafted him. He's got to get out there and do it. You can't look in practice. Were you working? You get in the practice field Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. How many? He's not doing reps. I mean, the backups don't do reps. That's just not what happens. Should they? Maybe, but I'm not a football coach. But look, I mean, so the only way he's really going to get better is just getting out there. But instead, they've opted to go with Flacco, and I would imagine they're basically saying the rest of the year, barring injury or I would think if they end up losing to Buffalo and the Jets and the Lions, they're basically probably going to be done. You're 4-8 at that point. It's going to be to win your last 5 and get to 9 wins. And this is a kind of a yucky AFC this year. So maybe 9 wins get you in. Who knows? I'm not so sure. It might. But then you're asking them to win 5 straight. Granted, that last 5 games those are all winnable. I mean, to me, if you can get 5-3, maybe 9 wins get you there if you can beat the Jets and the Broncos both on the road. I do think, though, we'll say this. I'll put a little bit of optimism here. Depending on which Flacco shows up, definitely not the one from last weekend. Maybe the one from the Jacksonville game where he put up some points. Of course, the defense gave them all up. Maybe. Again, just because Buffalo's does have a few injuries here. So if he can put some points on the board and the offense can move, the Colts are going to be without Michael Pittman Jr. this week, who is typically known as wide receiver 1, although I would think this guy Josh Downs might be that guy now, but time will tell. But in years past, I've been really worried about that just because of our lack of depth at receiver. This time around, I'm not as concerned. I mean, not that I'm happy about it by any means, but I'm not really as concerned about that. Bernard Ryman, our left tackle, will be back. He was in concussion protocol, practiced all week. Back at Goncalves, I thought last week did okay, being his first time ever doing that in the NFL anyway. I thought he did okay. That was a tough Vikings defense too. So I wasn't terribly mad at it. But from a health standpoint, everybody's fairly healthy, except for Pittman. He'd been playing hurt. It was probably a good idea just to sit him out. You want him healthy if there is to be a stretch run. You definitely want him. You want him out there. So, going into the game, like I said, if we can get some protection, he can has some, and he doesn't make some bad decisions like he made last week. I think the Colts can hang in there. Mind you, every game's been like a 1-score game. Oh, Ralph chime back in. You the man. Appreciate you, brother. Love your show too. Ralph does our Pittsburgh show. Does a great job. Puddles in there, and I'll cheer for them against the Jets. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. And Josh for MVP. I can't be mad at that. He's playing some fantastic football, and I love that because I made that comparison last week. Josh Allen's first 10 games when he became quarterback of the Bills, his first 10 games were not good. And he had defense on the other side of the ball at the time. I mean, he was not good. They stuck with him. I think just about everybody would love Josh Allen on their team right now. So kudos to Josh Allen for working through it. Kudos to the Bills for sticking with him. That's why a lot of people here in Indy are just upset that they've not done the same with Richardson. I mentioned the stats kind of mirrored each other between him and Allen. I know it's a little different game now than it was then, but not, look, we'll see what's going to happen here with the Colts chaos. It's just, it's mismanagement. And it has been there for a hot minute in my eyes. And it starts at the top. And we'll see if we can right the ship here. Like I said, if they can pull the upset off this week, which I think they can. I'm not saying they will. I think they can. It obviously will switch the narrative up a little bit, but we will see. They got to get, in my eyes, they obviously be great to get this one on an upset. But to me, they got to get the Jets. And if you go out and lose the next 3, that's going to be a really tough look, and you're going to have a lot of upset fans, a lot of upset players, and at that point, can you salvage it? Because you're on a downward spiral at that point. So, but hey, let's try to be positive. We'll try to remain positive. I will be at the game, so hopefully I might run into a few of you there, and we'll see how they play this week. So, on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining in. Huddle's just one more comment. He's in a good space right now. Thanks. Yes, he is. No doubt about it. So, but thank you all. Thank you so much for the comments. Thanks for participating. It was a fun show. Enjoy all your games this weekend, and enjoy the sports. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week. Big Mike here. Indy Sports Nation, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. Have a good one.